AIB's The Toughest Trade is coming back to your TV screens on Virgin Media next month. Aidan O'Shea's attempt at the NFL Combine will air on June the 8th, while the series opens with Tipperary hurler Brendan Maher swapping roles with former England bowler Steve Harmison, and that'll be on TV on June the 1st. Also featuring later in June as well, Donegal's Michael Murphy and Wexford's Lee Chin. Now, Aidan O'Shea went to America as part of the series 4 years ago for the second episode, and in exchange, former Miami Dolphin wide receiver Roberto Wallace came to Mayo, and he played Gaelic football with Aidan's club Brafey. Aidan, first of all, what was the experience like? I mean, I suppose when you get approached on this, were you a big American football fan and then interested in going across, or was there a bit of convincing to be done?
No, there wasn't a huge amount of convincing from my end. I suppose I look back on it with fond memories, delighted I got asked to do the show. Probably wasn't a massive NFL fan at the time, would have watched it, but not with huge level of detail, or probably wouldn't watch game after game, but just I suppose the chance to go over and try something like that, I thought was just too big to refuse. So I was delighted to get asked, and I look back on it with fond memories for sure.
Naturally, they saw you as a tight end. As it worked out, your time for the dash was exactly the same as Rob Gronkowski, who's coming back next season to play in Tampa. Obviously, you took quite easily to some of the different bits, but I guess some of the combine elements where maybe you hadn't played the game before was where it was tricky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so trying to pack in a bit of an NFL preparation for a combine in 3 or 4 days was a bit of a challenge, and there was definitely elements of it which I was out of my depth. But yeah, like I enjoyed some of the stuff that we were doing, and just even following some of the guys' lead in terms of the just trying to catch the ball in the combine and some of the 3-point cone drills and stuff like that. They were enjoyable just to see how I got on. But as I say, these guys were preparing most of their lives for some of these drills. So to try and pack it into 3 days was a bit of a difficult task, but I enjoyed the challenge all the same.
I think one of the comparisons that the coaches made in San Diego when they were preparing you for the combine, they said it was almost like you'd come from kindergarten to graduate school in a week. It was having to kind of learn on the job while you were preparing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but it was good. Like I think I knew that was going to be the case, but it was just enjoyable to try it being different, and just being on the receiving end of the quarterback firing the ball at you was a bit of crack. And when I was there, obviously the competitive edge kicks in, and you want to try and do your best. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it, and definitely an experience I remember.
How did you find the adjustment going from the type of training you do here versus what appeared to be a lot of very kind of explosive work when you were preparing for the drills there?
Yeah, it probably helped in a way, because I think it was early February, if I remember rightly, and when we filmed, and sure, I was only back training about 3 weeks with Mayo, and so I hadn't a body of work done in terms of aerobic capacity, so the short stuff probably suited. But no, like we packed a lot into that week, and to be honest with you, by the time the weekend came, my body was in bits. I remember we were doing a bucket load of kicking, and I remember one of the mornings, I think before we flew to Houston, I was in bits, and just trying to get my body right the day of the combine was a difficulty in itself, because we just tried to pack in so much in terms of filming and doing all the different drills and trying to get as much exposure to it as possible. But no, it was as I say, it is very different, and as you say, their focus is all about that kind of explosive piece and efficiency around their movement, and no wasted efforts in terms of their steps and getting off the mark. So yeah, big difference in focus, but something that was obviously a bit of an eye opener and change for me.
And something that's very different to a game situation as well. The idea that you get 2 or 3 passes as part of a drill in the combine, and that's what you're being judged on, as opposed to what you do in a dynamic situation within a game.
Yeah, and they told us before they started throwing the ball to us that don't be blaming the quarterback. If he throws you a bad ball, it's not his fault. You just got to be able to deal with it. And I was like, geez lads, I'm only here a week. Give me a chance. But yeah, no, it is obviously a bit different, and you're trying to just follow, as I say, follow the guy's lead. I was happy enough to be third or fourth, I think, in the queue every time, so I was able to kind of just take it from what the guys were doing and see how I go. But I probably enjoyed the element of the more freestyle stuff in the preparation than for the combine, because as you said, you can probably make a mistake and you're getting a bit more guidance in terms of coaching and stuff like that, and that was really enjoyable. So there was a bit of a pressure situation in the combine, and there wasn't the same level of kind of interaction with people, because it was business really for everybody.
One of the things I quite enjoyed, you're in the hotel in Houston the night before, you make that admission to yourself. It's like, I'm not entirely sure how to do some of these drills, so I really hope I can sit there, scout the opposition, and try and learn on the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I said that in the show about not being first in the queue and they don't go by alphabetical order or something like that. But yeah, no, exactly. There was drills there. I think we did some defensive drills. Sure, you're wasting my time, like sure, trying to block fellas and stuff like that. And I hadn't actually done any of that stuff. I'd only just done the prep work was more around the offensive side, the tight end role. So that was interesting.
I kind of was very impressed with how Roberto bought into everything as well. He comes over to Mayo. The first football game he goes to, it's pouring rain in Castlebar. Wouldn't have blamed him if he wanted to go back to the USA at that stage. But he really got involved in the club. He seems to have really become a popular figure after the time that he was there as well. He seemed to do a bit of farming with Rob Henley. He seems to have really bought into this trade when he was over.
Yeah, and I think I hope that came across in the show because obviously I left on the Sunday after that Dublin game, and I just briefly met him, but when I came back, everybody, both my family and everybody in the club, were just so complimentary about the way he kind of just joined in with everything. I think he was involved in presentations. He called into the guys for the Super Bowl Sunday, went training with the guys, and he just kind of threw himself into it. He's a great personality. And he's a great story to tell as well. And obviously, being played for Miami Dolphins is pretty cool. Cool history he's got. So fair play to him, and he's a lovely fella. I think some people still keep in touch with him through social media and stuff. And he'll always be remembered in Brayfield. Yeah.
And I'll always remember that he played a game for Brayfield against your great rivals Park during the series as well.
Yeah, he sure did, and I think he eventually got a score on the board after a few missed shots. But yeah, I think if we had him for a couple more weeks, we definitely would have made use of him. All right, he was a freak of an athlete. Now, in fairness.
Saw the lads in the series having a Super Bowl party. Back at home, is American football? Are you big fans of it? Were you a fan of it beforehand?
Yeah, beforehand probably not, but since I probably got a lot more interested in it, the lads, there would be different pockets that would be big into it, and I think I suppose the exposure of it on this side of the world now is so big that it's kind of hard to not be interested in some capacity. Sure, every single game is on TV now, so yeah, I would be more appreciative of it and would watch it a lot more since I've come home. And I think, like most people, I think we all watch it a bit more than we did before.
You got to meet the Flying Doctor while you were in the USA as well. I'd imagine that was a lovely moment.
Yeah, that was obviously special for me because on the way out, that I was just on the flight, and Kieran O'Hara said to me, "Look, there's a chance that we might get to see the Flying Doctor." And I was like, it wasn't something I was expecting, and obviously a huge moment, and something that I know obviously it's on the cameras, but in the cameras we got to spend maybe an hour and a half in his company outside of that, and just sharing some stories and bringing me down to his basement where all his memorabilia was and his family, and it was something special. And he came home that summer actually for a championship game, and I met him out in Ashford for a coffee and gave him a jersey, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And unfortunately he's passed away since, and when I look back now, I think if I hadn't taken this opportunity I would have never have met him. So it's something that I definitely will always cherish.
And he confirmed, and on camera as well, that the 1951 idea of some kind of jinx being put on was absolute nonsense.
Yeah, so I knew that already, but I was glad it got put on the airways to prove anybody any doubt anyway.
It's interesting you mentioned the fact that there's pictures of the early 50s teams up in Castlebar. So when you guys go to play a game, you're probably going to see that as you go around. Do you see that as a kind of a mark in history, or is that ever any kind of pressure that you go, here are the guys that got over the line in All-Ireland finals?
No, I think to be honest, Will, I think that unfortunately that 50-51 team have been a bit, I think, disrespected in the whole narrative of Mayo GAA because of that rubbish that's been talked about, and that we won't win All Ireland until they pass. It's a bit sad, to be honest, and I think that Paddy Prendergast is down in Kerry, and they should be celebrated more than what we have. And I think, as I say, it was delighted to meet Pork, and I just think that, as I say, the narrative has just been hasn't been right in terms of Mayo GAA. These guys have won back-to-back All Irelands. They should be celebrated in the right way, and I think since I started playing, I think John O'Mahony brought us to dinner with them when I was 19 or 20, and there was only, at the time, I think only 7 or 8 of them that were able to come. And, unfortunately, there's only one of them still alive. I think, as I say, it's important to celebrate these guys the way they should be.
And naturally, you guys want to try and get over that line after so many near misses over the last decade. And much like the Flying Doctor, when you looked at his medal collection, you want to add to your Connacht titles and your league title and have an All-Ireland medal at the end of your career.
Yeah, I think I had more Connacht titles than him, so I had one of them. But no, absolutely. I think, look, his medal haul was pretty impressive, and I'm turning 30 this year, and if somebody said to me I had an Ireland by now, I'd be disappointed. It's something I would have thought would have happened by now, and as a young fella growing up, but it hasn't been the case. We've been very consistent in terms of getting opportunities, but as we all know, I haven't been able to get over the line. And it's still something that burns brightly for me, and I believe it's still within our reach, and we just need to keep getting ready and getting improving, and with new guys in, and there's still some good experience there. We've got a good mix, and I still think it's within our reach. We just need to wait and see what happens for 2020, and we'll go at it.
I know players hate looking back on the year before, but when you look back at last year, given that you had a kind of a miserable run of finals, national finals, at least at Croke Park, winning a league title last year, I think, seemed a real boost going into the summer.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a surprise element to it, because I think a couple of weeks we had lost to Galway, we lost to Dublin. I think we were out of contention, and we went down to Kerry. I think it was Paddy's weekend, and we won down there in a little game. And I think I was doing an interview afterwards, and somebody was on to win the league. I said, no, we're out of contention, but they were like, no throne after beating Dublin. So I was like, oh, great. So it might be a chance of making a final. And I suppose it was kind of very much it wasn't a focus for us. And then all of a sudden it became, geez, we win the next few weeks, we're in a league final. And that's the way it transpired. And then, yeah, absolutely, it was when it was there to be won, and having not been won since 2001 for us, it was something that we wanted to do. We probably missed a couple of opportunities when we started off under James the first time, so we were delighted to get that one over the line. And it was a great game. Kerry obviously wanted to win as much as we did, and I think people probably had a little bit of a skit and a laugh about us celebrating, but I don't think we celebrated any more than any other team that's won the league over the last couple of years. And but I think it's just the fact that we hadn't won in Croke Park that was a bigger deal.
In terms of later in the year in Croke Park, that semi-final against Dublin, okay, they blitzed you just after half-time, but the feeling must have been there as you were going in for the break, with the way you played in that first half, that this was the day you were going to turn them over.
Yeah, like a lot of the days, but we played really well. First half, again, there was a couple of moments where we probably should have been maybe 2 or 3 ahead. I think we went in level. They got a soft enough free before half time, but a lot of things that we wanted to do in the first half had happened, and we were happy enough that they were going well for us. Look, the start of the second half, things spiraled out of control very quickly, and we just, all of a sudden we went from being level to 6-7 down in the space of a few minutes, and we couldn't kind of wrangle back any bit of momentum for most of the game. It's something that obviously we look back on with a bit of disappointment and opportunity lost maybe, but you got to hand it to Dublin. They came out, and I don't think they missed anything in that period of time. They were very efficient.
Is that one of the difficulties about playing against this Dublin team and trying to get a win? Because Kerry would have experienced that, where Dublin got phases in both of the finals last year as well, is that when they get on a run, they can do serious damage in a short period of time.
Yeah, and I think the efficiency piece is key. I think they're very efficient in their attacks. I mean, last year's final, when it came down to it and they needed a score, they're very good with the ball. They take the right option, and invariably they get a score when required. That in those 12 minutes, people talk about, like, I don't think they had much of a miss. I think Paul Mannion kicks one out under the holding stand. Like, you're not arguing with the defender, because the defender's right on him, and he kicks one from out on the sideline. So it's difficult. They're just a very efficient team, and they are very strong running team as well when they want to, and they can steamroll teams very easily at times. So it's just trying to manage that sway and momentum that they seem to just kind of blitz teams, as you say, in that period of time, and trying to manage that momentum is hard.
For yourselves, I was chatting to Stephen Cohen a couple of months ago when you were getting ready to play against Galway and what was going to be a really important game in trying to stay up in Division 1, the league. But he was saying to me that like it is a bit of a changeover in the squad at the moment. You know, Andy Moran is gone. There's young players coming in, and he was getting the feeling that you were just starting to maybe settle into the year when this pandemic brought everything to an end.
Yeah, I think so. Like, you know, people expect fellas coming into the squad to just kind of fit in seamlessly. Like it takes a bit of time, and we had guys who played. You know, I got a bit of a run in for a couple of games, and I think, you know, as I said, we were starting to maybe settle a little bit. You know, obviously the results hadn't gone our way, and performance levels weren't hectic at times either. And you know, the relegation wasn't really in our control. But we still felt we were in a decent place. We had players coming back, and we had those young fellas kind of playing some good minutes in terms of games. So yeah, like it's kind of a funny one in terms of the break, because you've got some guys that maybe were enjoying that run and that spell in the team, and now all of a sudden it's going to fracture their season a little bit. And you've got guys maybe who are more happy that there's been a break to get themselves rehabbed and back on the football pitch a bit. So it's a mixed bag, I suppose, and that's the same for everybody.
How have you found the last 11 weeks or so? Because you would have been getting ready for those last couple of games in the league, then you would have had a break before Connacht Championship, which would have been a couple of weekends ago. Has it felt very unusual to not be playing competitive games over the last while?
Yeah, it's very strange. At this time of the year, the weather is lovely. You know, it's the kind of time you want to be playing football the most. It has been strange. I've been lucky that you know, work has kept me very busy, working from home. You know, some guys are completely idle, whether it be teachers or whatever it is. But I've been busy, and that's probably helped. But I absolutely missed the buzz of training, championship training. And obviously, you know, we should have been playing Leitrim a couple of weeks ago. So not to have been kicking off the championship as per normal is a bit strange, and not being together has been tough. But you know, it's been for the right reasons, and we just gotta wait and see, bide our time as to when the right time is to go back.
How have you been as an individual trainer over the last while then? Because I assume gyms are closed. You've had to do a lot of the work yourself probably at home.
Yeah, and I suppose the fact that, you know, it's certainly like as if we're back in November, because if we're not going to be training or not playing until October, it's kind of that kind of 6 month spell before a championship game. So your training kind of has to change a little bit. But yeah, it's been a challenge, because like working, living, sleeping, and working out in the same space is quite a challenge and difficult. And but I'm lucky I live in town, and I'm close to some of the parks and the greenway here in Mayo, and I can go there within my restricted distance and be able to do a bit of activity. So look, I think the important thing is to keep tipping away, have a level of fitness levels that, you know, it's not going to have you too far away. And once we come back, you're going to get 4 or 5 weeks maybe before a championship game, so there's plenty of time there to make up your fitness levels and get there. But you just need to be smart right now, because it is a bit of an unknown out there. You don't want to flog yourself right now and find yourself empty come the real time the championship kicks in.
A lot of the athletes I've spoken to over the last 10 weeks or so have said that the unknown is the difficult part, because in their mind they're thinking there's other players who are going to be training hard at the moment trying to keep fit. Am I easing off a little bit too much where I need to try and keep up with them? I've no idea when I need to peak my fitness for later in the year. Could it be October? It's very difficult and very different to what people are used to at the moment, Aidan.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges for every team, every individual, like, because, you know, there's maybe an argument to say that the championship might get pulled in, and if things keep going well in terms of the numbers, and they keep reducing. But I think, look, from a personal point of view, you can't get bowed down with all that kind of stuff. I'm not worrying about whether what the fitness levels are like in other counties. I just got to make sure I'm managing myself. You know yourself where you are kind of in terms of your sweet spot in championship, and been around long enough to know that. So as long as I'm not too far from that, I'm comfortable enough. I've got a decent level of equipment here in the house that I can keep tipping away. And you know, even just to get out of the house and go for a run is just, it's like heaven at the moment, just to get out and do a bit. So the weather's so nice. You're going to keep a level of fitness levels there anyway, so it's okay.
Kieran Sheehan was saying to us on Off the Ball this week as well that he's made a trade himself. He's come back from the AFL to play Gaelic football this season with Cork, and he was saying that for a lot of his teammates, they're kind of re-evaluating what they do to a certain extent in terms of the workload that they take on, that maybe this has actually been kind of an eye-opening period for them as well when they've been away from the normal grind that they put in
terms of their football workload.
In terms of the workload that they put in for inter-county, the travel, the training, everything else.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the amount of hours we've got back in terms of our lives is it's a funny one. You miss it, but then you're kind of like, you don't know what to do with yourself for the first few weeks, and then you're like, geez, there's that amount of time there to do other things. And it is an opportunity for reflection, and in both professionally and both in our football, because you got so much time. This is the first time we haven't trained as an individual with a team since I was 6, 7 years of age, and I've gone this long without training. It's so strange. So yeah, it definitely is an opportunity for people to reflect. I'd say both management, players, everybody's looking at ways to be more efficient with their time. And as I say, look, I think sometimes we get bogged down on different, how long it's going to take us to get fit and do this and do that. Look, it's not rocket science. You know, I think like you look at Premiership teams or anything, they're not training for months on end to get fit in 6 months' time. You know, there's a time period there to get this stuff done, and I think that's the most important thing. Some counties could be a bit smarter on that.
How do you feel about the potential return to games then? There seems to be a real mixed feeling out there. Many players, particularly who responded to the club players survey, said without a vaccine they wouldn't feel entirely comfortable going back onto the pitch. What's your own feeling about it?
Yeah, look, I understand all that. I think there's probably a piece out there that the unknown of the, you know, people with vulnerable people at home with underlying health conditions that, you know, we won't know of until, and we never will. And that's maybe some of the reasons why people won't go back. The thing is, there's going to be a level of risk in terms of going back playing. There's not going to be a vaccine anytime soon from what I've read. So when we do go back, or when the health professionals deem it to be low risk and, you know, time to go back and play football, you know, I'll be guided by them. I trust our medical team at home, and I know Sean Moff's is involved with Croke Park in terms of the doctors and the county teams, and you know, I trust them, and you know, we've got to kind of go by what they say. I think the inter-county game is interesting because, you know, you'd like to think there's more controls there, and there's more resources in terms of maybe testing and being able to monitor a little bit more. At club level, it's probably not the same. You can't resource that kind of maybe testing, and how do you control players who are living in Dublin, working or playing in Mayo. All that kind of stuff has to be considered. And, you know, the club game, it's creeping up on us quite quickly. I mean, they're talking about playing them in, is it August, September time? So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. You know, I think I'm on record as saying that I'd like to see the club come back first. But what I mean by that is that if we can, if there's no inter-county season, then, you know, the club should come first, whenever that is later on in the year. But if from a controlled environment perspective, if the doctors and the health professionals believe it's not safe to do that, then and it is for inter-county football, then maybe that's what we do. But I think, look, the GAA have to wait and see and weigh it up. But we're obviously just really looking forward to getting back playing when it's right, and that's kind of the focus. But it's hard, as I said, when you don't know when it's going to be.
Would you understand if one of your teammates turned around and said, "Hey, underlying condition, or I've got someone vulnerable at home, I don't feel like I'm comfortable playing"? Would you understand if they came and said that?
Absolutely. Like, I mean, we're amateur sports people, and you know, it makes sense. You see it at a professional level. Troy Deeney at Watford, Kante at Chelsea, they don't want to play because they don't want to train because they feel it's too high risk. And I mean, if somebody said in the Mayo dressing room or Rafi dressing room that they weren't comfortable, then you got to respect that. And that's because, as I said, there's going to be that level of risk, and there's no guarantees if we do go back.
Given we look even at rugby at the moment, they say they're probably not going to have fans in the stadium for the rest of the year. If an All-Ireland Championship happens this side of Christmas, in all likelihood it's empty stadiums. How do you feel about the idea of playing Championship behind closed doors? A bit like football in Germany, is some football better than none?
Yeah, I'm probably split on this one. I think that first and foremost, like as I mentioned, we're amateur footballers in the whole base of the GAA's community, and having a championship game without supporters is something I find hard to kind of envisage. But at the same time, you know, I know myself, I love watching sport, and not having sport over the last couple of weeks has been difficult. But if we can, get a football championship behind closed doors and put on tellies across the country, helps bring a little bit of joy to people's lives and something to watch, and then absolutely, look, I'd be all for it playing behind closed doors if that's the call. But I just think, you know, as an amateur organisation, we're all about the occasion, people travelling, the fanfare, and it's just, I know it's maybe the new norm for right now, and maybe I just have to compromise that piece, but it is something that I probably find hard. Playing behind closed doors, you hear the Bundesliga, you can nearly hear every single comment, and I don't understand German, but I'm sure when the Premiership comes back, we'll be hearing what they're saying. Yeah, it'll be strange. I've played friendly games where it's within the county teams, and it's been like that, and it is very strange. But look, we'll be on for it if it's the right thing to do.
Well, safety is paramount, but I presume, as you mentioned, you're getting into your 30s, the clock starts to count down in terms of the amount of seasons that you've got left. You don't want to lose a year if possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. You only get a couple of chances of this, and as you say, I'm getting close to 30 now. Thanks for reminding me. But yeah, no, it's want to play the championship, and but as I say, it's just we got to be guided by the right people. And look, if we miss out the year, we miss out the year. That's if that helps society as a whole, if that's the right thing, then that's what we do. But I'm dying to get back playing and get a championship season underway and see where that takes us, if at all possible.
In terms of the time, Aidan, you've had that bit of extra time at home to fill over the last while. Aside from kind of becoming a bit of an internet sensation on TikTok with your girlfriend in terms of your dance moves, what else have you been doing to stay busy?
I've been, as I say, I've been lucky that our work has been really busy. We've been deemed essential, obviously, being a pharmaceutical company, so we've been busier than ever. We've just been taken over by AbbVie as well. So it's been a pretty chaotic time. And then on top of that, I'm in the middle of study, so I'm doing a diploma in leadership out of the Irish Management Institute. So I'm working through some assignments with that. So it's been quite hectic in that front. Obviously, Netflix, watching the Jordan series. I have the PlayStation in the house. FIFA has been brought back in from the home house. So there's just different elements. But yeah, no, just in terms of the time, I think for everybody, not just sports people, it's been a chance for a little bit of reflection. I've used it in terms of my football, just to work on a few things, because we're unlike other sports, because there's a down period in soccer or basketball or whatever it is, and they get a chance to maybe own in on some skill that they want to improve on or some move they want to improve on. Whereas in Gaelic football, you don't really get that opportunity because it kind of just rolled into the next year. Whereas now we have a bit of time to maybe work on a few things and get them hours of practice in. And I'm trying to do that as best I can, come back a better player. That's, I suppose, if you don't utilise this time right now, then I suppose you just wasted it.
I don't want to give away too much to your opposition, but what are you working on?
Oh, like just there's a couple of things that I'd be working on that, I feel that I need to improve on, based on position and things that maybe I was better at and that I've gone away from. Sometimes we get caught up in the bigger picture stuff in terms of team shapes and tactics and stuff like that, and you forget. And I think kids when they get to adult level kind of forget that the basics are so important. And I'm just working on different bits and bobs that might give me an extra yard of space, or make me a better player overall. But yeah, I won't go into the detail of them. I'm hoping they'll be whipped out when I get back, and I can talk to you about them then.
Fair enough. You mentioned The Last Dance, and obviously the end of episode 7, everyone kind of focuses in on that monologue where Jordan says, look, I had to be a bit of an asshole in order to make my teammates better along the way. How would you feel about having a Michael Jordan style player take his talent to one side, but say that type of leader in a Mayo football panel? How would people respond to a guy that's on them all the time?
Yeah, I think most high performance environments, there's a level of that. I'm not saying it's at the cutting edge of Michael Jordan now, but there's always that bit of angst, and I think that's good. There needs to be a bit of that, because if you're not, then you're not asking those questions and driving that kind of hard environment. And I think I would like to think that we've got an element of that here in Mayo, where we don't we don't let things slide, and we keep trying to push the standards as best we can. Michael's a bit of an extreme in terms of what we've seen on the show, and I think it's a bit of a different element for basketball, because he's the franchise player, and these guys have been brought in as role players to kind of fit in around him, and he's making sure that if they win and if they lose, it's on him. So it's not on Steve Kerr or Paxson or Horace Grant. It's on Jordan, and he just wants to make sure that he's got the best people around him, and they're clued in, and they know the plays inside out. And yeah, it's a massive insight into his leadership and his. Some people might say the narrative is a bit one-sided, but it seems to have worked when you look at Steve Kerr coming up trumps when needed, and he's got performances out of people that maybe they wouldn't have got out of him otherwise.
Well, AIB's Toughest Trade is going to screen on June the 8th on Virgin Media. Aidan O'Shea, are you going to be sitting down watching yourself, or how do you feel about watching your kicking back over again?
Yeah, I think I'll watch it back. The first time I watched it, it was a little bit through hands in front of my face because I hadn't seen it until it went live. So yeah, no, in fairness, everybody on the team was brilliant. The directors and everybody involved right through for the whole week. It was a really enjoyable experience. So no, I'm delighted to be part of it. So I'm looking forward to watching it back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to it. June the 8th is your episode, first episode coming up. Steve Harmison and Brendan Maher on June the 1st. Aidan, thanks a million for chatting to us on Off the Ball this evening.
Cheers, Will. Thanks.